is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Gaddis, is going for it.
Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And yes, that is right. This is not the quiz show, game show, trivia show, whatever you want to call it. Music. This is the intro music whenever I would break down games, talk about games. And that is right. No game show coming to you guys. A little bit nervous because you guys don't know this, but I forgot to hit record before we started this. And I totally forgot what this introduction music sounded like. I was like, okay, when do I come in again? But today we're supposed to be Tyler versus Rich Laurie. And this game kept getting just messed up for people's schedules and everything. So it's been rearranged like 2-3 times. And I was like, yeah, let's move on because all the 7 other people that have won their games, I was like, these guys are waiting patiently. So Rich is going to move on to the round of 8 and find out later in this episode who he's going to take on. And joining me today is, yes, Mr. Rich Laurie. So Rich, thank you for coming and joining me to talk about Ray Gaddis, Stuart Finley, just whatever we can talk about in 20 and 25 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll tell you, you got to take the victories where you get them, and I'm not too proud to take a forfeit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, spoiler alert for for you, Rich. Your year was going to be 2019, so it was either between 2019 or 2020. I decided to give you the 2019 season. So when we get into the round of 8, maybe I'll give you the 2019 season. Maybe you'll get something else.
Well, it was definitely a season of note. That's for sure. It was a lot of exciting stuff happened. As your intro showed, that I like that intro. It gets me excited just listening to it.
Absolutely. I'm like, do I want to add new goals, or I'm like, no, I'll just keep everything that I have. If I want to change it, I might try to change it. But yeah, everything sounds good. And like you said, especially that Jacob Gaddis goal against LAFC, the last game that fans were allowed in stadiums in MLS, and unfortunately, we weren't able to go to any home games last year until the end of the season. But yeah, what a year 2019 was, 2020 was. But we'll talk about that stuff at a later time and everything. Let's just go ahead and talk about, like I said, Ray Gaddis, Stuart Finley, Champions League against Saprissa, Joe Bendick re-signed with the team. And Rich, you've been a fan of the Union a lot longer than I have been a fan of the Union. So I remember watching the Union late in 2017. I remember them getting destroyed in 2018 by New York City. 2019, I picked it up even more. 2020, obviously, I picked it up even more. And the one thing that stands out about Ray Gaddis to me is against New York City in 2019, it was the last game of the season against New York City. We were losing that game against New York City. I think Andre Blake came up for a corner kick because we were desperate for a goal. And here goes New York City on a breakaway. And who's running back to stop New York City on this breakaway? It's Ray Gaddis. And I think it was Castellanos who had the chance to score for New York City. And Ray Gaddis catches up to him and saves a goal. And I was like, yeah, Ray Gaddis might not be the flashiest player. He might not be the most offensive player that we all want. But this is a guy, every time that he steps out on the field, he's going to leave it all on the field. And that's a guy who I'm just very, very, very high on. I love Ray Gaddis and everything that he's done for the team, and very surprised to see that Ray Gaddis, after 9 seasons, announces retirement at the age of 31. Just Rich, Ray Gaddis retiring, is that caught you off guard?
It really caught me off guard. Last season, during the season, with his off-field stuff and graduating from Harvard, and I got a feeling last year during the season that was his last year. I don't know nothing really made me think that. In my mind, it seemed like he was planning for after soccer. He kind of started to see that. But then after the season, he did it. So it wasn't even a thought in my mind of who was going to be our right back this year. It was like going through the roster. I mean, certainly there's holes elsewhere, but right back seemed like we're stacked, actually, I think. Vizo, Gaddis, and Harrio coming in. So it really caught me off guard, especially the timing of it, too. We're back in training, and, it definitely caught me off guard. And he was definitely a consummate professional, a leader, a model for the younger guys. He was just an all-around great guy. We're going to really miss him. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ray Gaddis was one of these veteran guys along with Ali Bedoya, and then everybody else is pretty young in that locker room. And so we knew that Joe Bendick at the time didn't have a contract. He's a guy who's been around for a while in MLS, another veteran presence. And, we all might not like Joe Bendick, but, just having that veteran presence in a locker full of guys this is the first year of professional soccer, or maybe it's the second year in MLS, third year in MLS, where these guys are still new. And to have those kind of players in the locker room that have been around MLS for 6+ years, that have played for one team the whole career, that know Philadelphia Union inside and out, yeah, those guys are vital to a team's success. And so now Ali Bedoya, which granted, he's been doing it for the last few years. He's the captain of the team. He's been holding everybody together. But now it's like Ali Bedoya, Joe Bendick, that's your only two veterans, and now everybody else is below 30 years old. And a lot of these guys are going into their second or third season in MLS, and obviously there's Andre Blake. He's been there for a while too, but I really look at Ray Gaddis and Ali Bedoya as the leaders for this team, especially with everything that just Ray Gaddis does on and off the field for the Union.
Yeah, and we also have, we still have Olsinho. He kind of isn't, he's been around a long time, and Collins seems like a great locker room guy. Honestly, it seems like the new guy, Finley, seems like the type of guy that's, it's going to take him a little while to get acclimated, but a leader type of player, just coming based on the reaction from the fans of the team he left. He seems like he's that kind of guy that could step in as well. We have guys that are getting longer tenure too, like Jack Elliott. It's a pretty good, it's a good team, but definitely Ray leaves a hole there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting into the debate about is Ray Gaddis a Ring of Honor player? I'm sure you probably have some thoughts on that. And that's a tough one, right? It really is tough. But before we get into that, just Ray Gaddis, what? Look, there's a guy who's been forced to play on the left side of the field as a left back. He's a natural right-footed player. And I know just myself playing soccer, and I'm nowhere near being a professional player, but, when I've been forced to play on the left side of the field, you're expected to use your left foot. And that's got to be so hard for a right-footed player. We saw last year in 2020 with Olivier Mbaizo, where this guy did not want to use his left foot at all. He'd constantly cut it onto his right foot, and he'd slow down the attack and get the ball stolen because those couple seconds that it was taking him to switch from his left to the right or to turn his body and everything, he's just naturally left. Yeah, exactly. He's not naturally left-footed, and it makes all the difference in the world. But here's a guy, Ray Gaddis, who, okay, wherever you want to put me, coach, I'll play left back, even though, I'm used to playing on the right side of the field. I'll go play left back while you put Keegan Rosenberry as the right back. Whatever you want, Coach Curtin. Didn't complain about it. And yeah, for just all the crap fans gave Ray Gaddis for not scoring a goal. Yeah, it's all fun and games and everything. If Ray scores, we riot. He came close. I'll tell you, the last 2 years, in 2019, 2020, I was like, he's going to do it. He is going to score a goal.
All those times, you get that feeling before the goal goes in, like you're like, that he's in a good spot there. And he rips one. And a couple times, it was like I was half out of my seat,
Like, he's going to do it.
The thing about Ray is, yeah, and it kind of melds with the argument of whether he's in the Ring of Honor or not. That really just depends on how you define that. But the thing about Ray is, despite the fact that almost every single year, literally, except for his first and this year, a majority of the fan base wanted him replaced. Like if they said what needs to be upgraded, right back every year. So that's the counter argument to him being out there is how do you have a guy that's never been an all-star and every single year everybody wants to replace him? How can he be a Ring of Honor guy? But you can look at it the other way. Despite all that, he's put in years he plays almost every game for years, and he's a very good defender. He's been nobody's ever knocked his defense ever, and that's what he is. He's a defender. And the part of his game that was deficient has really grown to the point where nobody was questioning that he was our starting right back this year. He played great last year. If he would have played the same level that he played last year, the previous 4 or 5 years, he would be an all-star every year probably. He'd be one of the better right backs in the league. And it's just a weird thing. I feel like when it comes to a Ring of Honor, it should be a guy that's like a league-wide, universally respected, great player, like Sebastian Letou. Like an Andre Blake, for example. Ray Gaddis is really appreciated here mostly because of a lot of off-field stuff, really. is I hate even making the counter argument because he's such a good dude. I really do. But it just, like, I think of it as, like, in 30 years, we're going to remember, oh, he was a hell of a player. Like, could you imagine even the highlight reel of him is going to be so, it's not even, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like Brian Carroll's highlight reel, which is really like he was a great professional soccer player. But it's just not, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one right there.
Exactly.
Brian Carroll, Ray Gaddis. Brian Carroll's done a lot for the Philadelphia Union. Spent most of his time with the Philadelphia Union out of all teams in MLS that he's played for. And look, Brian Carroll's not in the Ring of Honor, and Brian Carroll scored some goals, and he's captained this team on numerous occasions. He's been a great servant for the Union.
Also a very good dude, you know, like also a very good human being, you know.
And it's like, okay, Brian Carroll, you know, he's led the Union in minutes played at times. He's up there. I should bring this up, and I'll bring it up to show everybody how much minutes played Brian Carroll has and everything. Once I let Rich talk, don't have that up right now because, like I said, totally caught off guard. But like, you know, let's just go ahead and talk about anything we want to.
Yeah, this is like freestyle. You know?
Yeah,
freestyle.
Absolutely, no notes. We're just shooting it, and that's a great comparison right there. Is Brian Carroll? Brian Carroll, what difference has Ray Gaddis made that Brian Carroll hasn't done? They're, like you said, both great dudes, and Brian Carroll's not in the Ring of Honor, and now people want Ray Gaddis in the Ring of Honor, and I guess why not? Why not talk about that, right?
Well, the difference is this: the success of the team when Ray Gaddis, we actually won a supporter shield with Ray Gaddis, and that does make a difference. That makes a difference. Just like, you know, if you're a quarterback in the NFL and you don't win a Super Bowl, it really is a knock against you. Now it's a team sport, but still it's held against you. So similarly, Brian Carroll was a very consistent player on a not very good team, you know?
Yeah, it's a very, very good point, especially when you look at Ray Gaddis when he came in 2012, I believe it was, where the team wasn't really all that in 2012. And to go out, like you said, the last 2 years, 2019 gets the first playoff win against the Red Bulls. He contributed a lot in 2019. 2020 goes out as Supporter Shield winner. And like you said, those last 2 seasons, everybody's like, oh, we need an upgrade on right back because Ray's not good offensively. And like I said, introducing this episode and everything, was like the one moment that I can think of being a fan since 2017 is Ray Gaddis chasing Castellanos, I believe it was, for New York City in 2019 at home to stop them. They were already up 2-0 at the point. Ray Gaddis is hustling back and stops them from making it 3-0. And that moment's always going to stay in my mind about Ray Gaddis. And yeah, it's cool thinking about how close Ray Gaddis has come over the years, close to scoring goals. But yeah, it's tough, right? It really is tough. Ray Gaddis, Brian Carroll, 2 great players for the Union, but Ray Gaddis does have that silverware. And like you said, it's got to make somewhat of a difference.
And here's what's going to happen, though. And I don't have it. I can't say if I had a personal vote, why would they ever ask me? But if they did, I would say, no. I want like 50 goal scorer type of guys up there, or like that kind of thing. But you know, Jim Curtin came out strongly and he said it right in the press conference. He should be a Ring of Honor member. All the outpouring of current teammates and former teammates that came out and had such praise for him, he's going to be up. His name's going to be on that building for sure. I mean, it's just going to happen, whether we agree with it or not. And if it's got to happen, then he's a pretty good guy. I'm glad it's happening for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ray Gaddis leads the team in minutes played all time. He leads the Unions in appearances. This is a guy who's been around for a while and everything. So that's obviously going to weigh into the effect. Me personally, it's tough. I agree with you. I think, it's like the same debate for the Hall of Fame, National Hall of Fame for baseball, football, hockey, whatever. It's not the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Fame. And so the Ring of Honor shouldn't be, okay, yeah, this guy's a great dude.
That's how I feel about it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great dude on and off the field and everything, but has he contributed goals? Has he contributed assists? No. And so
give him name like the Player of the Year award for him, like the Philadelphia Union Player of the Year, Ray Gaddis Player of the Year award or something. Like that's the kind of thing that seems suitable for a player like him. To me, to me that makes sense. Or the Ray Gaddis deck, or whatever, like the Ray Gaddis stands, or he's that kind of a player to me.
Yeah, let's give Ray Gaddis his own stand, right? Give him a statue. Give him Mike Thomas.
Give him one of the 3 section. We'll take him over there. Yeah.
And there you go. I think Mike Thomas, he said, let's give him a mural on outside of the stadium. Let's go ahead and and do that.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's give him a testimony. I know I saw fans saying that.
Oh yeah, I would love that. The thing is, like you said, you have a memory of Ray Gaddis. That's the thing about him. I've watched him his whole entire career. I've watched every game he's played. I hardly can think of any like actual memories. You know what I mean? Like I can't think of like highlights. Like I know he's been steady, and over the years people have been down on him. I really have never been down on him. I see what he was limited going forwards, but like I can't think of like, oh, there was that time he shut down that guy. Like I can't think of stuff like that. I can't think of like amazing plays like the play you even mentioned. I was at that game. I don't even remember it. So
yeah, and I'm curious to see how many people listening to this episode remember that moment. I don't know, for whatever reason. That game didn't matter. Like, it would have been cool if we would have won that game and we were losing, like I said, 2-0, and Ray Gaddis is still hustling back. So maybe that's why it stands out to me, is because this guy's hustling back when we're down 2-0. It doesn't matter. Dying embers of the game, and he's saving it like we're tied or they're going for the game-winning goal or something. And that really stands out to me. And I was just talking about Brian Carroll, how many minutes he's played for the Union. He's number 2 on the list all time with 13,863 minutes played, with Sebastian Letou narrowly behind him with 13,437. And
Wow.
Ray Gaddis has, I believe, trying to scroll it down. I want to say over 20,000, but I feel like that's wrong.
20,000.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
wrong. It's 18,702 minutes played, so a ton of minutes played.
See, that's a real testament to the guy, considering how many years he's been here, how much there's been pressure to replace him, and how he's still been a starter like almost his whole entire career. That's pretty darn impressive. All right, you talked me into it. Put his name on the building.
Yeah, I think it is going to happen, right? It is definitely going to happen. But then at the same time, too, then we'll see in a couple of years, Ali Bedoya's name is going to be mentioned. We see Andre Blake's name is going to be mentioned. People will mention El Senior. I don't think El Senior should be on that. He's a great player, but El Senior has been more of a substitute than a starter. And yeah, he's given us some great moments, but yeah, like we were just talking about, it's the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Very Good. The Ring of Honor shouldn't be, okay, yeah, this player is great, because look, I can make an argument right here for Danny Califf should be on the Ring of Honor. The amount of stuff that Danny Califf's contributed to this team early on, yeah, we might not have been the most successful team early on, but Danny Califf, club captain, probably didn't deserve to be traded when he did, because it looked like he was a stable on the back line for the Union, and the move had to be made. But there's a lot of players that have played for the Union in the past that you can make a case for just as good as Ray Gaddis. I do think Ray Gaddis, like I said, will be in the Ring of Honor. Do I think he should? No. Yes, like I said, yes. He leads the Union in minutes played, but if Andre Blake sticks around for 2-3 more seasons, Andre Blake's going to pass that. Yeah, Ray Gaddis has 221 games played, the most in Union history, but to me, it's just not good enough. Yes, he has silverware, but still, it's just not good enough for me.
Yeah, well, yeah. The thing is, it's not up to us.
Yeah, it's not.
So
it's really not.
He's gonna make
it's
it.
really not.
And you know what? He's a heck of a nice guy. And if we got to have a guy that's not a great player, but I'm glad it's a really good person, and he's a leader. And, there's a lot to be said for that too. He was a real leader. And I'll tell you what, we're going to miss him. We really are going to miss his play, his consistent. He really set the bar of good defending is boring. And that's why I can't think of highlights of his, because he just shut stuff down before it developed.
That's very true. And when he got the ball, you'd find somebody else to go start the attack and everything. He'd shut somebody down defensively and then go ahead, starts the attack. And
Keegan Rosenberry was very exciting, but I do have a lot of memories of Keegan Rosenberry chasing after the play because he got stuck up on offense. So I do have a lot of memories of him. He had some goals. I remember those, and he had some really nice crosses. But I do remember him chasing. I don't really remember Ray chasing after the play.
Yeah, because he's not going forward all that much, and maybe that's why. Maybe he's seen Keegan Rosenberry get caught up way too many times going forward on the right side when he's playing as left back. So he's like, okay, when I get my position back, I'm not going to push up as much. And I'm sure a lot of it is probably tactical too, because we see on the left side of the field, Kai Wagner, he's always pushing up and everything. And then he has covered by Jamiro Montero, or Mark McKenzie would cover for him if he got caught out of position. But then Kai Wagner would do enough to get back there and stuff out any danger that was going to happen if the Union lost the ball in the final third. But the last thing I want to say about Ray Gaddis is, look, Ernst Turner, he came out and said it has been an honor to watch Ray thrive since I've arrived. He is a tireless worker who has an incredible heart and attitude towards the game and community. He is a leader in every sense of the word, giving our young players, especially our right backs, a role model and example to what to strive for. His presence will be missed, but he has made an imprint on the fabric of our club. We wish Ray well on the beginnings of a new chapter. And look, that's a great point to bring up. He mentored the right backs, Olivier Mbaiser and Nate Harriel. Now it comes down to who do we play? I think personally it is going to be Mbaizo just because, look, Nate Harriel hasn't played a lick of professional football, first team football, I should say. Yeah, U2 it's professional, but it's not the top tier in America. Look, I don't have a problem with Mbaizo. There was moments last year where I thought he played really, really, really well, especially in the final third. He's a player who looks like he wants to attack every moment that he gets, and sometimes he loses the ball and gets caught out of position, and he's definitely more of a right back than he is a left back. But I think Nate Harriel, this is a guy that the Union have had high hopes for. Look, they traded for his homegrown rights, and so that tells you how important Nate was to the Union's future. And we all knew whenever Ray Gaddis retired, we did not expect it to be this soon. We knew that Nate was going to eventually take over. And here's my thinking behind this. I think Nate Harriel is going to give Olivier Mbaizo a run for his money. I think we'll see both of these guys split time this season as the right back. But I do see Olivier Mbaizo having the upper hand, playing a little bit more games on the right side of the field than Nate Harriel. But I do think if Mbaizo has a good season this year, his first time being the full starter, I don't see why a team over in Europe doesn't come to the Union and say, look, this guy's only 23 years old. By the time the season ends, he'll be 24. I don't see why a team wouldn't come over and say, hey, look, well, we're taking Mbaizo from you. Look, he's played for the Cameroon national team 3 or 4 times. That goes a long way. Teams always look at players that are playing for the national team. It's not like he's playing for the under-23s or the whoever's. He's playing for the full national team of Cameroon. That goes a long way. And now this is his chance to start for the Union, to put himself on the stage. Because look, at the end of last season, when Kai Wagner first came, all the talk, how so many people were blown away from Kai Wagner, like, whoa. How did the Union find this guy? And there was rumors that Kai Wagner was getting looked at by West Ham, by Fulham, by other teams in the Bundesliga. Kai Wagner is still here. I do eventually think Kai will be sold, maybe in the summertime, maybe at the end of the season. There was a report that he did with Kicker, I believe it was, or Build. I forget who he did it with, where he said, hey, look, yeah, I would like to be sold in the wintertime, if not summertime. But, you know, I have a contract with the Union and I can't do anything about that. And so now here's Olivier Mbaizo to see Brendan Aronson, Mark McKenzie get sold to Europe. If he takes his chances, I don't see why this guy can't have a good season and not be sold to Europe.
Yeah, I remember the thing about him last year was, yeah, he did have really good moments, but I also remember him being out of position some. And I don't really recall Union players. I can clearly remember everybody screaming at him, like Bedoya and Montero. Like, really? I don't recall them ever screaming at anybody quite like that. Just for being out of position, like just where I sit at the stadium, it was like you could hear it clearly, you know. So it seems like he still has some wrinkles to work out in his game. But if he definitely has the tools. If he just gets some of that, you know, that's something that team doesn't really seem to put up with anymore. Is players that are out of position. It seems you've seen the people they get rid of, and Ernst has seems to have very little tolerance for that. Like, do it or you're gone. And so we'll see. It seems like Mbaizo is going to have that opportunity. He's going to be getting pushed by the young guy, who I'm pretty excited to see. He looked pretty good. I mean, that's the thing about all these young guys that are coming up. Yes, they all have a lot of talent, obviously, but they also were getting their tails kicked last year badly. So in USL. So now that they're going to be up in the big boy game, some of them are going to sink and some of them are going to swim, and we'll see how it goes. You know, I mean, I'm pretty hopeful for Harriel, though. Honestly, he seems like a very good defender.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's 19 years old. So comparing his age to Paxton Aronson or Sullivan or Brandon Craig, those guys are 16, 17 years old, while Nate's the oldest out of all those guys at 19. So at 19, look, we were seeing Brendan Aronson start for the Union. We were seeing Mark McKenzie get playing time for the Union. So age, it doesn't seem like it matters for the Union. If you're ready, you're ready. You're going to get your chance. And maybe he surprises us like Brendan Aronson did in 2019, where everybody, like you said, brought in Marco Fabian. We were talking about this before we recorded, where we said people were saying Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin were saying, oh, yeah, we didn't expect us to compete this early and everything. Well, if that was the case, then why bring in Marco Fabian? Because if you're bringing in Marco Fabian, you're expecting to compete. And Marco Fabian got a red card. And Brendan Aronson took his chance and never looked back, scored in his debut against Brad Gussin down in Atlanta. And just to see the step that Brendan Aronson made in 2019 to 2020, this is a team that, look, if you're a young guy, you're ready. You're getting your chance, and better make the most of it, because if you are, you're going to keep getting your chances unless you're Anthony Fontana for whatever reason.
for whatever reason, or even Real, who gets chances and does well and gets kind of stuck behind Kai Wagner, who I'm sure he wasn't. I bet he wasn't thrilled Kai Wagner got re-signed.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had a clear path at that position.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then see ya. But that's the way it goes. I mean, Kai Wagner is a great left back. I mean, I was really confused that he didn't go. It seemed weird. Like it seemed like that was definitely going to happen, and it didn't. So good. It took me a minute to adjust to that thought. Like, oh, good, we have him back. Yeah. So I think we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Mbaizo is good enough. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to be the kind of guy that is, oh, we got to get him out of there. He's killing us. He's not that kind of player.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There's going to be a crowded schedule, which will get Ariel some minutes. I think of all the homegrowns, he's probably going to be the one to get the first crack. Really, I think we'll see how it goes. Of the young ones, I mean, the newly signed ones. It's pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this as well, and hopefully we get some more signings. But let's go ahead and talk about the two new signings before we wrap up this podcast, which I guess one's technically a re-signing, and then the other one is a new signing in Stuart Finley from a Scottish team. Killy, I think the nickname was Kilmarnock or something. I'll have to look up how to say it. I forget what it is. But I talked about this briefly during the game show where the Union signed him for $300,000. $300,000 for a guy who's played for the Scottish national team, who has spent time with the U23s at Newcastle United in the Premier League, who has spent time at Celtic. This is a guy who was a leader back on his team back in Scotland. This is a guy who's going to come in ready to play. Yeah, he might not be Mark McKenzie, but it seems like a good guy to bring in to replace Mark McKenzie, and it's asking a lot to replace Mark McKenzie. It's a lot of pressure, but I believe, look, Ernst Tanner's, all of his signings that he's made have been good signings, and like everybody says, in Ernst we trust. Yes, you can argue Andrew Wooten, you can argue Marco Fabian, but it took the Union a long time to announce a new signing, and I think this is the guy that they wanted, and they got the guy, and so I'll be curious to see just what the Union do with him. Did they go in a three in the back? I know that was a talk last year with Glesnes, Elliott, and Mark McKenzie. I feel like if they wanted to do that, we would have seen that at some point last year. I don't know. I think Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott, it is their spots to lose, but regardless, I think we will see a lot of rotation with Finley, with Jack, and with Glesnes, because we're in a lot of competitions this year. We're in obviously the league, the CONCACAF Champions League, and then we'll see if we are able to get into the U.S. Open Cup, because I believe only 8 teams from MLS are qualifying for the U.S. Open Cup this year. I didn't look too much into that. I should have, but I didn't expect us to record an episode like this, but it's all good.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm excited about Stuart Finley. I think they needed to. They lost 2, essentially. Well, it turns out they lost 3, but they lost Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson. And I thought, at minimum, they need to replace those guys. And I think as far as the center back goes, I think they did a fantastic job replacing Mark. Mark McKenzie seems to have the higher ceiling of those 2 guys, but he has a soccer IQ that's just off the charts. Stuart Finley seems like a stud MLS type of, like in MLS, he's going to be one of the really, really good center backs in the league. When we already have some of the best center backs in the league. And I think I really like that they really prioritize that position, and it makes a huge difference. I mean, between 2019, we gave up like 50 goals or something. And then the next year we gave up obviously it was a shorter season, but we cut that by so much. And boy, does that make a difference, obviously, in your wins losses if you're not giving up goals. But that was kind of a weakness of them, I thought, for a while. We had a lot of center backs come through. We had center backs with a lot of promise, but we were getting opened up like a tin can in the middle, and we were just giving up so many goals. So Glesnes was a fantastic signing, obviously. Forget about the goal even. He's just a really good defender.
Yeah.
Jack Elliott's been impressive since the first game he ever played for us. Just good things happen when he's on the field, and he's becoming a real leader on that team as well. I love Jack Elliott. This new guy seems like he's going to fit right in. He's left-footed, which makes a huge difference. He's going to get a lot of time. He's not going to be like, they do rotate around. There's a crowded schedule. You know how it was last year? It was McKenzie and Jack mostly, but Glesnes played quite a bit. Jack's had more than you would have thought he would have. So I don't think they didn't sign him to be a bench warmer. He's going to play, and I think for MLS he's going to be very good. He's a big guy. He's physical. He's fast. That's just he says he's really excited with the way we play, and we'll see how good he is with the ball, because we can't. That you better be good with the ball. You kind of have to be to play for the Union in the back. And we'll see. I think that's perfect for getting a new center back. He's perfect. I don't need a $4 million center back. I need a very good center back, and he is that. I just really wish we would get a number 10. Like, we just don't. It's such a question mark, and it's been a question mark like every year.
It has.
Last year, every single year. Even last year, we were like, is the kid going to be able to step up this year? It's his position to lose. Is he going to be able to do it? And, of course, he's in Europe now, so he did it, and we won the Supporter Shield. But every single year for years. Now, but the difference this year is they've always been able to find that guy. They found a Barnetta. They found a Dochko. They even got Marco Fabian. They've been able to find guys on the market for free even sometimes, or very reasonable. And, Chaco Maidana. They've been able to find great midfielders over the years. But this year they're like, we don't need one. Like, what?
Yeah,
what do you mean we don't need one? Of course we need one. And I know the whole fan base, and you and I were talking about this earlier, the whole fan base is saying, well, obviously it's going to be Fontana. But I don't know. I'm not reading that from Jim and Ernst. From all their comments, they don't ever say that he's going to play that position. They say he's an exciting player. We got to find time for him. He makes a lot of, they say a lot of good things about him, but they don't say he's our starting number 10 this year. I've never heard them say that. So then that begs the question, who is? I don't know. Is he on the roster?
Is he on the roster? Exactly. Who knows? And what's interesting about that is because earlier, sometime last week, I think it was, maybe 2 weeks ago, Ernst Tenner said, look, we're not done yet. 1 to 2 more signings we can make. Hopefully that wasn't including the Joe Bendik signing. Hopefully it's a player that they're expecting.
Which I think we've talked about the Joe Bendik signing about as much as it needs to be talked about, which is not very much at all. I mean, it's a third-string goalkeeper who most Union fans have terrible memories of that one game that he played for us. So hopefully we don't need to use him. That's the best thing I'll say about that. He's a good pro, though, and he's been around.
Well, I think we're going to be seeing Joe Bendik probably in the Champions League. Honestly, if Shelby's shaking, my sister's shaking her hands, no. Because look, I mean, we saw him against Columbus, shaky against Columbus last year when he came in against Chicago. Almost gave up a goal to Chicago if it wasn't for Andrew Vutin saving the goal on the goal line. Like, holy cow! Like, Andrew Vutin, you're supposed to score the goals, but you saved a goal. Thank you so much. Because what were you doing, Joe Bendik?
Maybe we're just spoiled by having Andre Blake. But yeah, that Columbus game was like, what the hell, Joe? What are you doing? Like, they're the ones that you're supposed to stop, And, I don't want to disrespect the guy. He's been a long time pro, but come on, if you can't stop those, what are you doing out there,
Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah, I agree. Some young guy we can put in. But, I'm sure he's a good locker room guy too. And he seems like a great teammate and everything. He really does. Just, you see him interacting with everybody down on the field when they're warming up, and he seems like,
It's one of my favorite things to do when I get to the stadium early. And I feel like a lot of people, you see that, like 5 minutes before the game's going to start, everybody comes to the seats. Like, I like getting there early, sitting in my seat, watching the players warm up, because I can sit there and Shelby, I can be like, look, blah, blah, blah is going to have a good game, or blah, blah, blah is going to have a bad game because of the way that they warmed up. If they're not hitting their shots and everything, and you can see, like, the body language and everything, I'm like, this is going to affect how they play. And I don't know. Yeah. That's always blew my mind that fans don't get there early to see that kind of stuff. I guess people would rather.
People like to drink. That's the thing.
I was gonna say, everybody likes to tailgate out in the parking lot, come in 5 minutes late, wait at the gates because now everybody's lined up and it's packed to get back into the stadium. And I'm like, I'd just rather be in there early. So, but yeah, I mean, look, Joe Bendik, we'll probably see him a couple times this season because Matt Freese is away with the U23. We're seeing Andre Blake potentially go away with Jamaica. So, well, at least we don't have to call up a academy player to come play goalie, right? At least Joe Bendik has experience in the league playing as a goalkeeper. But I don't know what we saw from him last year.
I'll tell you what, though, Todd, I'll take that trade-off of Matt Freese being with the under-23s. That's exciting. I mean, to me, that's like he's going to – if he gets on that team and he makes – that's exciting, He is very good, though. I think he's very good. He really impresses me. So, I mean, we're gonna have to see Bendik, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole thing about Matt Freese, but I don't know. That's a guy who I'm thinking about. Look, Andre Blake. We know goalkeepers last forever, and we know a few years ago Andre Blake was linked with a move to the Premier League and couldn't get paperwork and whatnot worked out because I think he didn't have enough games with Jamaica or they sat too low on FIFA's list. I forget what happened with that.
Yeah, they weren't very. That was a real dip in Jamaica's ranking, and because of that, he wasn't able to get a.
And it looks like, I don't know, Andre Blake can be here for a few more years and everything. And Matt Freese, I think, 21, 22, my sister said. So thank you, Shelby.
That's good producing. That's good producing right there, Shelby.
It is having a good producer. Look, this guy, goalies can be around forever, but sooner or later, this guy's going to need to be playing first-team football to get a chance. And I think, why not? Why not have, if Matt Freese can play first-team soccer, why can't he challenge Zach Steffen for the number 1 role for the U.S. national team? If he's playing all the time, why not? I mean,
why not?
We saw last year against.
It's not like it used to be. Like right now, that position is. I mean, there's some guys there, Zach Steffen, and there's a couple guys ahead, but it's not like it was with Howard and Guzan, where they were the number 2, and there was just no getting past that. It's not really like that right now. There's definitely, especially being young, the sky's the limit for that guy. I really think that. Yeah, he's another guy that could definitely be sold in the not too distant future.
Yeah, absolutely. If he gets his chances, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe teams are going to start scouting the Union even more now, seeing how they produced Mark McKenzie, Brendan Aronson. It's like, okay, let's see. Do you guys have anybody else that's destined for Europe? And maybe teams are already talking to Ernst Tenner about how Matt Freese is in practice and everything. Maybe we all get surprised and Matt Freese is traded to some team in Europe. Like, where did this come from? Just like we were surprised when Gaddis retired. Who knows with this team anymore, man? Who knows? Nothing should surprise us. But just the last point I want to bring up about them needing to make a new signing. You said something about Mbaizo being the odd man out because of international roster spots. So then I went and looked it up, and Jacob Glesnes, Stuart Finley, Kai Wagner, Jose Martinez, Jamir Montero, Matai Orvat, Corey Burke, Casper, and Sergio Santos are all players that are taking up international spots. I believe, we can have 8, so we're 1 over right now. I mean, you've got to expect, Sergio Santos, Casper would get the green cards because they both have kids now here in America, so it should be easier for them to get a green card in America. But
I don't think so, yeah.
Who knows with any of that? But I feel like, look, we want a signing, but not having international roster spots. Yes, you can trade for them and everything, but I always feel like early on in the season, and maybe look. When Ernst Tenner is saying, I just thought of this. When Ernst Tenner is saying, yeah, maybe we'll make 1 or 2 signings. I know Jim Curtin said this team you see right now is not the final team. Look, I feel like more times than not, you see teams trade for international roster spots midway through the seasons when teams are like, okay, we're out of the playoffs. Why do we need these spots? And let's go make some money. And so, yeah, maybe that's what the Union do. Maybe they're like, we'll just go ahead, trade for international roster spots right now in the summertime where we can get them cheaper than we would right now in the wintertime where teams still have hope that they can sign some international player, but who knows? Like I said, maybe Casper, maybe Sergio gets a green card. Maybe they both do, and now we free up. Maybe
they loan out Orovitz. They were talking about that before, weren't they? I think Ernst was talking about that was like in the cards before, but I haven't heard anything since then about that. That'd be a way out of that problem too. He's been training with the team though, so I guess he's still in the picture here. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's definitely they can work around that stuff. That they got resources to work around that sort of thing. I imagine Shabilko specifically. He's been in the country for a while now, and he has a kid. And isn't he married too? I think he's married too.
Yeah, he just got married, and so that should make it easier, right, for Casper to get.
I guess the Union's plan, is just. Well, when does the transfer window close? Isn't it like kind of like in April sometime, like the end of April? It's pretty late,
in April, I believe it is now. Yep. Yeah.
So maybe that's what he means when he says we don't have to do anything right now. He doesn't need to do it right now, you know?
That's the one thing about Ernst Tenner is he's so tight-lipped. He does not let anything out. If he wants you to know something.
You know what's funny about that? Yeah, he's real honest, but he's careful too. Like he knows exactly what he's saying. And I really enjoy his interviews because you can kind of read between the lines and see what he's talking about. And he does negotiate a little bit. We saw that when he was negotiating with Montero. He was just like, he was going out there with like statements like, yeah, it's too expensive. We can't do it. We're going to have to find some other option. And it was like, that negotiating was absolutely still going on. And he was just like, that was absolutely posturing for the negotiations. Yep. So the fact that he's saying we don't need to do anything right now, he could have an agent, he could have just hung up with an agent right before he did that interview. You know, like who the heck knows what's going on? They have to see that we need somewhere. They have to see that, right? Like they have to, especially just depth. Like we got depth problems all over the place. So I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, with this team, I mean, you just don't know, right? I mean, in Ernst we trust. That's all that's what everybody keeps saying. That's all we can see because look, like it's crazy. Once Ernst Tanner leaves, whenever he leaves, this guy has to get a statue or something just for everything that he's done for the Union.
Unbelievable. He's like exactly what we needed because he is what we thought Ernie Stewart was going to be. We thought a guy that was savvy in Europe, and we thought I was really excited when we got him. But Ernst is exactly what I thought he was going to be, and he wasn't. It was a whole different thing with Ernie Stewart. But Ernst is like very much into the whole game of building a good team, and he's like, "Here's how we're going to do it." And he doesn't suffer fools, and he doesn't have time for BS, and he doesn't mind getting rid of fan favorite players if it doesn't fit his model. And he has a clear vision, and he's had results. All the people that are like still very Negadelphia, I just don't understand how you could be like that. He's gotten better every year. We just won the Supporters Shield. They've had points per game is one of the best. I think it was like fourth or third ever in MLS history. Like, how could you possibly before the next season even starts? How could you possibly even be like, that's so Union? Like, he's got to. If he hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt with you, then you just don't want to. Then you don't want to be positive, because this is a reason to be positive. Like, yes, I need more players, but I would like more players. But if he thinks we're good, he knows a heck of a lot better than I do. A heck of a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you. I'll answer that question for you right now. People will say it's because they say it's because they haven't spent any of the money they got from Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson. Look, we talked about this before the show. I've talked about it plenty of times and everything. I wasn't expecting us to spend all that money, so I'm not going to go. If you guys want to hear my thoughts, go through those older episodes and listen to what I have to say. But before we end this episode, I'm going to do something that I haven't done before, the live drawing in a podcast. So, Rich, I think I shared my screen for you. So Rich is my witness to show that I'm not rigging this. This is no FIFA. I have Michael, Mike, Luke, Scott, Ricky, Corey, Pat, and Rich. All 8 of those guys are going into the round of 8. I'm clicking randomize right here.
I don't like my chances against any of those guys.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's do the drawing, see who's playing who. And so we have, oh man, Rich. We have Michael, the finalist from last year, taking on Rich Laurie. And I think you guys played last year too, didn't you, in the final?
We were the finalists, yeah. We were in the final. So,
not good again, Rich. You get a bye, great. And now your first official game against Michael again this time I found not good at all. Next game
he's a machine. That's good. That's good though. Well, honestly, if you look at the list, there's no pushovers there anyway. So
yeah, and we have Scott versus Ricky. That should be a great game. We have Mike versus Pat Andrews, and then the last game is Luke versus Corey. This is going to be exciting. I mean, great games and everything. Rich is finally has a chance. Look, you have a chance to redeem yourself on the final last year. This is not rigged. Rich saw me do it, so nobody can question that. Not that you guys are, but really looking forward to the round of 8, these games. And I'll tell you guys right now, so one of the games will be just questions I have for 2019, and then the other games are going to be just focusing on the 2020 season, or then some of the other games are just going to focus on the Union, how the Union did, and MLS is back. So just get thinking about that. Everything's going to be current, so just get your mind turning and rolling, and it should make it a little bit easier for you guys that struggled with the older Union stuff, because look, the last 2 stuff, our most successful years, it's been a blast, and there should be some good moments in there. But Rich, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where to find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Rich_Laurie if you want. I would definitely not if I was you, because I think I can be pretty annoying on there. But that's the only place. I'm not on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah, why not?
You can come to East Falls if you want to come hang out on my front step. Wear a mask, please.
Well, there we go. You heard that. If you guys don't have anything to do, go hang out with Rich. Why not? But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you get your podcast information, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcasts to listen to them. The Free Kick, Todd Lewis. Check out the website, thefreekick.com. And Rich, had a blast, just like you said, none of this, no notes. If I wanted to pull something up, did it on the spot. So I had a blast having you on, just talking about Ray Gaddis' retirement. Is he a Ring of Honor player? Is he not? I think we come to the conclusion that he is going to be, even though we don't think he probably should be. But, I'm here. I'm here if you want to make
I'm
that
leaning
argument.
back the other way now.
Okay, Rich is changing his mind. So, but it's always a pleasure, Rich, to talk Union stuff
likewise.
and not have you stressed about a trivia show. But, when that game comes against Michael, then it's like, oh, man, all the pressure's back on.
It's good, though, because, we were in the final together, and it was pretty close, but he's a machine, and, like I said, if I'm just looking down the list of everyone, it's going to be tough no matter who I was drawn against. That first round was really impressive for some folks, particularly the newcomers, and, it's going to be really good. I'm going to enjoy hearing it. Listen to everybody.
Absolutely. Well, until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.